Radha Radha. It's very, very nice to be here with all of you. I am deeply honored to be invited by Rajji and by Monika Joshi, who is a student at our school and a devotee here at the ashram, at the temple. And most especially, my visit here, I have been so inspired by how devoted the devotees here are to their guru, to Guruji. Jagadguru, Kripaluji, Maharaj is flowing through the hearts of everybody I've met here. And when I first came here just 2 days ago, I was not familiar with anybody who was here and the traditions except for Monika, but the traditions that were here. And I felt so warmly welcomed. But I wasn't just welcomed by the individuals who were here. I was welcomed by that which unites all the individuals who are here together. And that is Guruji. And so I felt welcomed by Guruji through the hearts, through the eyes, and through the words of everybody who has taken care of me since I've been here. And perhaps the greatest blessing was when we went for a tour of the 200-acre facility and we were in the golf cart and it was pouring down rain 2 days ago upon us. And we were soaked to our skin as we were looking at the beauty of this ashram. And while that may sound like something that was a bad thing, no, because there was so much love and so much joy in that car ride, in that ride through the golf cart. And the Shakti, the love, the energy that is in everything that happens here. It's hard to imagine that there's anything but joy and bliss and peace in this path. And so I am so honored to be here with all of you. Rajji asked me to speak about this integration between Ayurveda and the spiritual path. And that's really very easy to do because Ayurveda is a science of body, mind, and consciousness. And in Ayurveda, we do not separate out these three things. We don't think of the care of the body as different than the care of the mind or different than the care of consciousness. There's no separation between our spiritual path and our path toward optimal health. In fact, we could say that Ayurveda is the healing side of the Vedas. And all the spiritual paths come from the Vedas. Ayurveda is that knowledge applied to how to stay healthy so that you can continue your spiritual goals. I travel around the world and I teach about Ayurveda, and there's two things that I find that everybody is interested in. One of them is optimum health, and the other one is peace of mind. And optimum health and peace of mind depend upon your spiritual connectedness. Connectedness to that which is greater than yourself. How do you define that which is greater than yourself? You define that as the divine. You define that as God. You find that through your guru. Your connection to that which is greater than yourself is the key to optimum health and the key to peace of mind. Ayurveda recognizes that if you treat the body, you will impact the mind and you will impact consciousness. If you treat the mind, you will impact the body and you will impact consciousness. And if you treat consciousness, you will impact the mind and you will impact the body. They are all related to each other. They cannot be separate. And yet, in our Western society, we have separated them. We have doctors who treat just the body. And they know very little about the mind and very little about consciousness. They've become so specialized. just the healer has become specialized into the doctor. No idea of the relationship between body, mind, and consciousness. And even the doctors have become more specialized, so that you're not a general doctor of the entire body, but you might be a cardiologist and be the doctor of the heart. And you might not know that much about the kidney. And you might be a doctor of the bones and not know that much about the heart. And even if you're a doctor of the bones, you might be specialized. And you might just be a doctor of the hand. And you might specialize in just the hand. And if you are a doctor of the hand, you might be specialized in just the thumb. Because that is an incredibly complex part of the hand. There's an old quip that says that a specialist is somebody who knows more and more about less and less. And isn't that really what has happened? Because the healers of ancient times, and the healers still in those traditions, in India and now spreading throughout the country, here in the United States, see a bigger picture. The bigger picture takes you from the thumb back to the hand, from the hand back to the body, but from the body back to the mind, and from the mind back to consciousness. And in fact, there is great interest in going back to seeing the whole picture. Isn't that really what yoga is? Movement from separation to wholeness. Movement from individuality to oneness. The Ayurvedic doctor, the Ayurvedic practitioner, does not see just the thumb separate from the rest of the body, or sees the body separate from the mind and consciousness. They see it all as one. We have doctors of the body, we also have doctors of the mind in the United States, the psychiatrists and the psychologists. They specialize in the mind, but they don't know the body. And then we even separated out the doctors, so to speak, of our spirit. And that's our clergy. And sometimes our clergy and our spiritual teachers know just the consciousness, but maybe not the mind, maybe not the body. I'm so excited that Jagadguru Kripalaji Maharaj was also an acharya of Ayurveda. And so many of the great masters of India knew of this integration, integrated Ayurveda with the Vedic teachings, because they understood that you can't separate body, mind, and consciousness. The path to perfect health parallels your spiritual goals. The path to perfect health parallels your spiritual goals. If you're moving forward toward your spiritual goals, you are also moving forward on the path to optimal health. Optimal health is not perfect health. I should qualify that. Sometimes we talk about perfect health. And we think the goal in life is to have perfect health. And we define perfect health as being as healthy as you can be. You've got all the energy that you could possibly have. You are not ever sick. And you have no pain. And you will live forever. Perfect health. But that's not true. Optimal health means that your body is in harmony with nature. And within the laws of nature, you have the best health that you can have. But the laws of nature teach us that everything will come into creation. Everything will work toward preserving itself, and ultimately, everything will go through dissolution. Death is as natural as life. Just as one day, maybe it'll be 100 years, or 1,000 years from now, or 5,000, this building will disintegrate. Everything that has been created has a transient existence. So too does our body. And yet, to be optimally healthy means that when you are living in harmony with nature according to the divine principles of the Vedas, your body will achieve optimum health, as healthy as it can be. You will have the life energy, the Shakti moving through you, and you will be as healthy as you can be within the laws of nature. I often tell my students, if I get into a car accident and I lose my right arm, don't bring me to an Ayurvedic doctor. Because no matter how harmoniously I live, I will not grow a new arm. Bring me to a neurosurgeon and let's sew it on, and then bring me to an Ayurvedic doctor or Ayurvedic practitioner and maximize my potential for healing. I have to function within the laws of nature. Optimum health is not perfect health. We will deteriorate over time, but we will live in harmony with nature, and we will have the energy and the health necessary to fulfill our dharma. You have a dharma. Each of you have a dharma, a reason for being and a service to provide while you are here in this life. Each of you has a dharma. To fulfill your dharma requires that you have a certain amount of health and well-being. When that becomes compromised, it's hard for you to fulfill your dharma. Many people don't know their dharma. We think of dharma as the spiritual reason for being. Sometimes we do know it, but we don't understand it. Sometimes our dharma is to take care of our family. That could be our dharma. And yet to be healthy is necessary to take care of our families. To be a good husband, to be a good wife, requires that you be healthy, so that you have the energy and the health and the vitality to fulfill your dharma. You may have the dharma to be a doctor, the dharma to be an architect, the dharma to do karma yoga. But if you are healthy, you can fulfill that dharma. Ayurveda exists to keep you healthy so that you can fulfill your dharma and to fulfill your highest spiritual goals. What are your highest spiritual goals? They are different for different people. They are different for different traditions. But no matter how you define your highest spiritual goal, whether it is to enter the kingdom of heaven, whether it is to live in the highest loka with your guru, with your Ishta Devata, whether it is liberation, whatever your highest spiritual goal is, what they all have in common is to achieve that, you want to live a virtuous life. A virtuous life. Ayurveda is a path of virtue. Ayurveda is a path of living virtue. Not the virtue that comes from the spiritual approach to your life, but the virtue that comes from how to live the physical day-to-day life in a virtuous manner, in a manner that is harmonious. You see, if you're living out of harmony with nature, then you are at cross purposes with your spiritual path. In all the Vedic traditions, we talk about this aspect of ourself that is our ego. Ahamkara, it is sometimes called. And there is this part of our spiritual path that is this part of ourselves that is connected to the divine, often called Atman, Jivatman, soul, spirit. There's these two parts of ourselves. And these two parts of ourselves are motivating our actions. When our actions are motivated by our ego, by ahamkara, by that separate existence, we live in a way that is out of harmony. And as a result of that, there is karma. And as a result of that, there is disease and suffering. Let me give you an example. When we live in a way that is overindulgent, when you overindulge in food, even healthy food, but you eat too much, there is a karma with that. And you will eventually suffer in order to learn about the opportunity of self-control. Sometimes we think only of our diet and we think about junk food, and junk food will make you sick. But in fact, overindulgence in any food, even khichdi, too much of it, and you're going to get indigestion. If you eat and eat and eat and eat, you're going to get indigestion from the very best foods. It's your ego that works through your senses and motivates your desires. And when you surrender to the desires of your ego through your senses, your life becomes about the pursuit of pleasure. Only the pursuit of pleasure, maybe the avoidance of pain, and therefore there's pleasure in eating, and if eating is pleasurable, then eating more must be more pleasurable. And then we overindulge, and there is sickness that comes from that. This is what happens when our actions are motivated by our ego, by our separation, by ahamkara. On the other hand, when our actions are motivated by that part of ourselves that is divine, Atman, soul, Jivatman, this motivation, this action that takes place will be selfless. And our actions being selfless are not based on our desire to please ourselves, and therefore do not become excessive. They are harmonious. Within the laws of nature, they are harmonious. This action, motivated by our soul, is described in the Bhagavad Gita as the inaction of action. This is the action that has no corresponding karmic consequence because it is selfless. The action that is selfish, the action that is for me, for my interests, always has a corresponding karma to it. And that karma creates suffering, either physically or emotionally. If you want to be perfectly healthy, it is the development of your consciousness that will lead you to be as healthy as you can be. And as your consciousness develops, the motivation for your actions moves from sensory-based egoic desires to soul-based harmonious desires. It's as though your soul is whispering to you all the time and giving you direction as to what to do. If you listen to your soul's voice, you will always be directed toward harmony, toward health, and toward those things that bring about peace of mind. If you listen to the voice of your ego, you'll always be directed toward a short-term pleasure, but long-term suffering. And who do we usually listen to? Our egos. Because our egos speak loudly. They say, "You've been working hard. You deserve that cake. You deserve those cookies, and you deserve to have the sweets." They tell you that, and that's your ego. And then you say, "Yeah, I do. I've been working really hard, and that would be so good." But then we get heavy and overweight. And of course, there's a lot of suffering from that. There's heart disease, there's cancer, there's diabetes. This is all because of the egoic desires working through our senses. Listen to your soul's voice, and the soul whispers to you, eat khichdi, rice, vegetables, lots of vegetables. But most of the time, we don't even hear the whispers. We don't hear the whispers because there's too much noise up here. There's too much noise up here. Our society is noisy. We get noise from the television. We get noise from the radio. We get noise from our iPods. We get noise driving down the road, and we see the billboards telling us what we're supposed to do. We get noise from our friends, noise from the parties, noise from our senses. Our senses take in information all the time, and it's pretty noisy. And we can't hear the whispers of our soul. So if we want to hear the whispers of our soul, what do you need to do? Quiet down. And that's where your sadhana comes in, your practices, your spiritual practices. When you do your spiritual practices, your meditation, your puja, your ceremonies, you're trying to give everything an opportunity to settle down, get away from the egoic-based sensory world, and have a time out for the soul-based spiritual world. Hoping to hear the voice of your soul. The voice of your soul speaks through your heart. The voice of your soul speaks through your heart, not your head. You have to be quiet, quieting down the mind to hear the guidance of your soul. And then you'll be led to the actions that will bring about optimum health. The Sanskrit word for optimum health in Ayurveda is called swastha. Swastha. Swa means self. Sta means to be solid or steady or established in yourself. And this is the word really for perfect health or optimal health. Isn't that interesting? If you want optimum health in Ayurveda, the word for that is to be established in yourself. But what does that mean? There are two selves. There is the egoic self, and there is the higher self, or the soul, or Atman. To be established in yourself is necessary. It means, on the one hand, to have positive self-esteem. In fact, studies have shown that if you have positive self-esteem, you will be less ill. If you feel good about yourself. I like myself. I feel good about myself. I'm a good person. I have confidence, self-confidence. If you lack in self-confidence and you lack in feeling good about yourself, you shrink. And you know what happens? Your immune system gets depressed. And then you're more likely to get sick. So in fact, when you don't feel good about yourself, you will get sicker and you will take longer to heal. But self-esteem will still not lead you to optimum health. It'll lead you to better health than a lack of self-esteem, than to be, to feel bad about yourself. But it still won't lead you all the way, because then you start feeling so good about yourself. I'm so great. Nothing can hurt me. I'll have more cookies. I'm never going to get sick. Strong. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I'm special. I feel good about myself. I feel great about myself. This is my ego getting out of control. Now I think I can do anything and nothing can harm me. I can eat more. I can have more. I can accumulate more money. I've got power. I've got all these sensory desires. My ego's getting out of control, and the karma of that, it's going to get me. There's no escaping karma. There's no escaping karma. It's a spiritual law. You will reap the fruit that you sow. The seeds that you sow will grow, and you will reap that. If you take harmonious actions, you will be free of any harm. But when you take egoic actions, you will need on your spiritual journey to learn what you're going to need to learn something about yourself, that you are not so special, that you're not any more special than anyone else. We're all special. Okay? We're all special. It's not that we're not special. We're all equally special. We are. It's the ego that wants to think we're better than others, healthier than others, stronger than others. But that's not true. So we're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way. And so things happen to us. We get sick and we get humbled. We go, oh, I guess I'm not so healthy after all. I'm sick. See, so we learn the lesson the hard way. Swasta, to be established in the self, requires not only positive self-esteem, but also to know your true nature as spirit. You see, in Ayurveda, we understand that the primordial cause of disease and suffering is forgetting your true nature as spirit. How many of you know that you are spirit? A pretty good idea? Yeah? Okay. If you really know that you are spirit, if you really know that you are divine, if you really know that you are Purusha, Paramatman, then you wouldn't be getting caught up in the dramas of the world. But when you get caught up in the drama of the world, it's because you forgot. And we all forget. Intellectually, we may know, but in our hearts, we sometimes forget. Our spiritual teachers and the spiritual teachings tell us that we are divine, but we forget. We all forget. And we get caught up in the world of samsara. And all of a sudden, it becomes all important little things. And that makes us unhappy. We get caught up in the drama and the stress. And when that happens, the mind gets agitated and we no longer have peace of mind. And the mind is connected to the body. And when the mind gets disturbed, the doshas of the body become disturbed. The doshas are the physiological forces of the body. You're all somewhat familiar with Ayurveda, but we sometimes think that the science of Ayurveda is some ancient science that we don't need to pay attention to. Western medicine has the answers. It's not true. It's not true. You see, the ancient science, the traditional science, is actually more accurate than the modern science because it is based in timeless spiritual law. Spiritual laws don't change. Western science changes. It's the basis of science. The conclusions of Western science will change whenever there is new information, as long as the scientist doing the study is open-minded. New information comes about when we learn more. That's why whatever we know today will be outdated in 20 years from now. If you look at the medicines being given 20 years ago, many of them are off the market. At the time, science said it was going to be safe. But now, 20 years later, science says, uh-oh, that one wasn't safe, that one wasn't safe, that one wasn't safe. So as we learn more, the conclusions of science change. There's nothing wrong with the scientific method. It's wonderful. It's a great way to move forward and to learn, but it has its limitations. We can never take a conclusion of Western science as absolute, because by its very definition, the conclusion will change as the instrumentation changes and we get more subtle sensitivity to measure results, and when we have new information that comes into the equation. The conclusions of science are always open to change. So we can't really trust the conclusion as absolute. We must have discernment. We must have perspective. But the Vedic science is absolute. The principles that were true 5,000 years ago are just as true today. It's It's absolutely so. This is what I study. I study the ancient principles, the traditional principles, and how they relate to your health and your well-being. And I can tell you that they are infallible. If you live your life according to the principles of Ayurveda, you will optimize the potential of your body to heal itself. Your body is amazing. It has the capacity to heal itself. Your body makes drugs all the time that you need that are right for your body. But it can only make those drugs if you are living in a harmonious manner. And you're taking in that's which you need to produce those drugs. Your brain produces chemicals, your digestive system produces chemicals, your immune system is amazing. Did you know that your immune system can defeat cancer? Cancer, the big horror of our society. Did you know that most of you, almost all of you, at one time in your life have had cancer? You just didn't know it? It's true. In fact, I'd almost say all of you at one time in your life have had cancer and you just didn't know it. You had cancer cells being produced in your body. But your immune system attacked and destroyed those cancer cells before they could grow. It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty remarkable. It's when your immune system fails that the cancer begins to grow. It's when the immune system fails that the cancer begins to grow. Why does your immune system fail? Your immune system fails because our bodies become weaker when we live out of harmony. Our bodies become weaker when we live out of harmony. Ayurveda is the science of maximizing your potential. How many of you want to be optimally healthy? Raise your hand. Yeah, I would think everybody. Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to live harmoniously? Are you willing to make lifestyle changes? Well, maybe. Depends on what it is. Isn't that what you're really thinking? Maybe. What do you want me to do? And if I say, well, I want you to go to bed earlier and I want you to wake up earlier, you're going to go, really? And I don't want you to eat those sweets. I want you to eat good, healthy, whole foods, organic foods. I don't want you to eat highly processed foods. Oh, what fun would that be? What part of you is concerned? The ego that has the desires that moves through your senses. Your soul wants to celebrate if you begin to live harmoniously. Your soul wants to celebrate. Really? That would be great. But most of you think you want optimum health. But I don't know if you're really ready. I don't know if you're really ready. Are you really ready to live harmoniously through your five senses? Your five senses are like portals or gateways into your body, your mind, and your consciousness. They are portals. You take in the world through your five senses. What are you taking in? What you take in through your five senses changes your physiology. You either have the physiology of health or the physiology of disease. It's that simple. You either have the physiology of health or the physiology of disease. Depending upon the type of physiology of disease you have, you may get heart disease, you may get cancer, you may get autoimmune disorders. You either have healthy physiology or abnormal physiology. And which one you have depends upon how you use your senses. You all know that, really. It's true. If you eat junk food, your physiology will change in a manner and you will get diabetes and you will get heart disease. You know that to be true. You know that if you just eat fast food and lots of deep fried foods, that you're going to get heart disease and diabetes. We know that. It's a fact. That's the karma of that selfish action. You say, yeah, but it tastes so good. I love to go out and have those French fries and have those onion rings. And But there's a karma associated with that selfish action of your ego. Your ego goes, yes, I love it. Oh, that tastes so good while I'm doing it. I'm in so much pleasure and joy right now. But then later, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, you're sick from eating those things. Okay? You know that if you eat harmonious things through your mouth, that you're going to be well. You know that. You know that if you eat lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you'll be healthier. 30 years on down the line, no heart disease, no diabetes, less of many other diseases as well, because you lived harmoniously. You know that. You know that what you take into your mouth is important, but did you know that what you take into your eyes is just as important? Did you know you can get sick from what you take in through your eyes? Yeah, you can. What happens to people who look upon violence, and how does it affect them? What about our soldiers to come back from war? How did that affect their physiology? And what about you if you've witnessed violence? And maybe it's not something as dramatic as violence, but how is your physiology affected when you're just in the city and you're in your office and you don't get out into nature? If what you take into your eyes can affect your physiology in a negative way, what would happen to your physiology? What happens to your physiology when you come here and you look at the beautiful altar? And you look at a picture of Guruji? Do you feel better? Then there was a change in physiology. If you feel better, then there was a change in physiology. What if you looked upon beauty all the time? How would that affect you physiologically? How would that affect your mind? How would that affect your body? It would be remarkable. And what about your ears? Can you get sick from what you hear? Do you take in the world through your ears? You absolutely do. You take the world in through your ears with everything you hear. What do you hear? Some people listen to music, but what do the lyrics say? And what are you taking in through your ears? What do you take in through your ears when you listen to a construction site? Does that make you sick? You can get stressed from listening to a jackhammer and a hammer all day long, and then you get a stomach ache and you get headaches, all from what you hear. You get sick from what you hear. But you know what? You can also get sick from negative words. How many of you are in an environment where somebody yells at you, speaks to you in an unkind way? A word is more than a word. We know this. You know this from mantra. What is a mantra? A mantra is a sound energy. Every sound has energy, and that energy affects your physiology. A master of mantra can chant the mantra and do healing on you. But every sound, every single sound has power. What is the sound and the power of somebody telling you, you're not good? What you did was bad. That has an effect on you, and you go, oh. You want to cry. Your physiology is going to change. And you start thinking, really, I'm not bad, I'm not good? And now you don't feel very good about yourself. The power of a word. How do you feel when somebody says, I love you? I love you. You're so kind and generous. Thank you. I so appreciate you. That's like walking in a rose garden of sound. You just feel better. Words are powerful. They change your physiology. Put yourself in a positive auditory environment, a positive visual environment, a positive sound environment, a positive taste environment, and a positive touch environment. In my book, Healing Your Life, Lessons on the Path of Ayurveda, I talk about each one of these environments. How do you create a positive sound environment, a positive sight environment? What colors are right for you? What touches are right for you? You can get sick from touch. Of course you can if you get hit. That changes your physiology, right? You feel violated when you've been hit. Oh my gosh. Your physiology changes. It contributes to disease. It does. How do you feel when you're hugged? Your physiology improves. And now you are less likely to get sick. And if you're sick, you can get better from a hug. There are healers who heal through hugging. You know? You can heal from a hug. You can heal from looking at a rose garden. You can heal from looking at pictures of your Guruji. The Shakti that flows from the divine through the Guruji's picture can heal you. It's amazing. And I've seen this again and again, and I have seen people heal from Ayurveda, from cancer and heart disease and Parkinson's disease and diabetes. We have a clinic in California where we treat the worst cases, and we see people get well who are willing to change from living in an egoic, sensory-driven manner into a soul-motivated, harmonious manner. And when they make that switch, the physiology changes. And when the physiology changes, the healing, the body just switches it on. It turns on the healer within. And the healer within heals. The healer within in Ayurveda is iconized as Lord Dhanvantari. Lord Dhanvantari, incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Just like Krishna. Incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who it represents the healer within us and the healer that is divine. And with the grace of Lord Dhanvantari, healing takes place within each of us. Lord Dhanvantari, the god of healing in yoga, the god of healing in Ayurveda. You know of Lord Dhanvantari from the stories of the churning of the oceans and the battle between the gods and the demons for control over the three worlds, which in your body represents your physical body and your mind and your consciousness. And Lord Dhanvantari arises as the divine healer, bringing the sacred elixir that ultimately gives control to your soul. And that's where healing takes place. Healing takes place when you shift from the egoic drives to soul drives. But Ayurveda says you can get well from making that shift. And if you made that shift completely, you would be attracted to that which would keep you healthy. Imagine if you just knew. You didn't need any knowledge. Imagine if you just knew what to do, what foods to eat and what foods not to eat. Would you like that? That would be great, wouldn't it? If you only were attracted to the foods that would keep you optimally healthy and the colors and the sounds. That would be a fantastic thing. And that is what happens if you're entirely soul aware, self-realized. But until then, we're all grappling with our egos, right? So the ancient rishis saw this even among the people who lived in the villages. And so they gathered together all of the healers from all of the villages to get together. And they all met in what's called the Congress of the Rishis. And they wanted to share the knowledge that they knew about how to eradicate disease and suffering so that those who are not entirely self-realized, those who are committed but are still driven by the ego, could have a guidebook, a guidelines to follow to be healthy, because they couldn't quite intuitively know everything. And as they talked and shared their knowledge, they realized that none of them knew everything to be well. So there was one rishi among them who they felt was more knowledgeable and more worthy within their own heart than all of them. And his name was Rishi Bharadwaj. And so Rishi Bharadwaj was sent to go off into the forests to find the home of Lord Indra. and to ask Lord Indra for the divine knowledge of healing so that all the people in all the villages all over the world could have this knowledge of what to do to be well, even though they were still ego-driven. But if they had some guidelines, they would know what to do to avoid disease and suffering. And if they got sick, they would know what to do. So Bharadwaj went off into the forest to find the abode of Lord Indra. And eventually he found the home of Lord Indra. You think Lord Indra lives in a house in the forests? No, it's a story. Lord Indra lives in your heart. Bharadwaj was the greatest among the rishis, of the healers. He went deep into the forest in meditation, lived in a small house near the river. And there, deep in meditation, worshiping Lord Indra, the image, the appearance, Lord Indra appeared before him. The abode was in his heart. The key to unlock the door is devotion. With devotion, the door to the heart is unlocked. Lord Indra appears before Rishi Bharadwaj and teaches Rishi Bharadwaj everything humanity needs to know to be well. And also teaches him about all the diseases and how to heal them. Rishi Bharadwaj comes back sometime later out of the forest and meets with all of the rishis. Meets with all of the rishis. And transmits, teaches all the rishis the full knowledge of Ayurveda thousands of years ago. How to avoid disease. And if you get cancer, even how to heal cancer. If you get diabetes, what to do. Wouldn't you have loved to be there when Rishi Bharadwaj came out of the forest? And hear what he told all of the rishis? Well, we actually have that story. We have the whole discourse. And the whole discourse is written down in the Charak Samhita, this ancient text of Ayurveda, written maybe 1500 BC, 3,500 years ago. There were older versions, but they were burned and destroyed in some of the occupations in India, in some of the ancient universities of Nalanda and Takshashila. And so many of the texts were destroyed, but we have the Charak Samhita. And it tells the whole story on how to eradicate disease and suffering. And Ayurvedic doctors and practitioners study this. This and some later texts. This is where our knowledge comes from. And our insights come from our meditation and our practices. And it says that nothing is right for everyone, but everything is right for someone. You see, nothing is right for everyone and everything is right for someone. And that is the fundamental principle of Ayurveda. Not everybody should follow the same diet. Not everybody should expose themselves to the same colors or the same sounds, or even receive the same touch or the same amount of touch or the same amount of food. You are unique. Ayurveda teaches you that. There has never been anybody created with the same physiology as you. Nobody feels like you. Nobody's digestive system works like yours. Ayurveda is a science of understanding what is right for you, not an understanding of what's kind of right for everybody, which is how Western medicine works. It's based on statistics. Ayurveda is based on individual. What is right for you as a unique person? That's Ayurveda. To know that, you have to know your prakriti, your constitution. Your constitution is your blueprint. And it is the roadmap to understanding how to prevent disease. It's the balance of the three doshas determined at the moment of conception in you. Determined by your karma, flowing through your genes, flowing through your genetics, creating your unique physiology. And that determines what foods are going to cause you to be healthy or unhealthy. Some people thrive with peas and others with carrots. Some people thrive with root vegetables like potatoes and others get indigestion. Some people need spicy food and some people do not. It's going to cause them to get sick. Ayurveda will teach you what foods are perfect for you so that you can thrive and not simply survive. Most people are surviving but not thriving. Ayurveda is a science of thriving as a human being so that you can reach your full potential physically, emotionally, and spiritually by knowing what's right for you. You are unique. You need to take in what is right for you through your mouth, your eyes, your nose, your ears. In my book, Healing Your Life, I go into each of those. You will learn your prakriti. You will also learn your vikruti. Your prakriti is your original creation. Kruti means creation. Pra is the Sanskrit prefix for original. Vi means after creation. Vikruti, after creation. That's your state right now. And you need to know that the balance of the three doshas in you right now, they determine your physiology. Vata determines how fast you move, your motion, not just of your body, but your mind. How much vata do you have? Some people speak very fast. They have a lot of vata. They speak very, very fast. They can't stop talking. They talk a lot. They blurt out things. They just continually talk whatever's on their mind. As soon as it comes into mind, it comes out their mouth. You have a lot of vata. Okay? Some people have a lot of pitta in their mind. Pitta is the metabolism, sharpness, focus. They want information. They digest that information. Everything should make sense. In their body, they digest food really strongly. Some people have more kapha, more structure to their bodies. And all that structure makes the mind move more slowly. And they take time to process, and time to think, time to speak. We're all different. You have all three doshas within your nature. You have vata in you because you move. You have pitta in you because you digest. You have kapha in you because you have tissue. But you have different amounts. And understanding your constitution, your prakriti, and understanding the current state of balance of those doshas, it's your own personal code. And the Ayurvedic practitioner can read that code and tell you what foods to eat, what colors are best for you, what sounds are best for you, what touch is best for you. We are all very much like plants. We are. If a plant gets the right soil and the right temperature, and a plant gets the right amount of sunshine and nutrients, what's going to happen to that plant? It's going to grow big, and it's going to have a deep, rich color, and it's going to have lots of blossoms, right? But every plant has different needs, doesn't it? Each of you is like a different plant. If you get the right foods and the right colors and the right sounds and the right touch, if you're in the proper environment, you will grow big and strong. And you will have a deep, rich color. You'll be healthy. And you will have lots of blossoms. You will fully blossom as a human being. And what does that mean? It means that your body is healthy. Your mind is at peace. Your heart is open. And you're able to love and be loved. And you reach your full potential. And you have the energy to do your dharma, your spiritual work in the world, and to achieve your spiritual goals. That's Ayurveda. That's the promise. And I promise you it is true. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're very blessed to have Ayurvedic practitioners in your community. And the spiritual community is very blessed to have Monika Joshi, who is very, very well trained in Ayurvedic medicine, has served as part of the extended faculty of our school. And she comes to this community periodically, and when she does, if you don't already have a relationship with a good practitioner of Ayurveda, I highly recommend you to have consultation with Monika, because she can help you to understand yourself better and how you relate to your environment. And she doesn't only recommend medicines. You see, Ayurveda is not about medicine. Oh, medicines are good, but they're temporary. It's about how you live your life. It's about how you live your life and the choices you make. And so she's not only there to give you advice and medicine, but to support you. To support you to implement Ayurveda in your life, because we all need support. Otherwise, the ego will run wild on its own. We need support of our teachers, including our Ayurvedic teachers, our spiritual teachers as well. Together, Ayurveda and your spiritual path make up a complete program for your life to take care of your body, your mind, and your consciousness. And then you will have what you truly want: optimum health, peace of mind, and to achieve your highest spiritual goals. It's my great hope that by sharing a little of this with you today, that you're inspired to act a little bit more harmoniously. Can you do one more thing that's harmonious in your life and let go of one disharmonious action in your life? If you do just that, my time here has been well spent. What you let go of is up to you. Adopt one healthy practice in your life today that you're not already doing. And if you're not sure what to do, make a commitment when Monika Joshi comes back to town to having a consultation with her. It will change your life and get you on the path of healing. I want to thank you all for listening to me today and listening to me go on and on and on about something that I love more than anything, which is Ayurveda. And I love it because it holds such incredible promise for humanity. My dharma is to help end suffering in the world. And I hope that by coming here today, that you're inspired to end your own suffering, because I can tell you that it is possible through Ayurveda and through your spiritual life. Thank you very much. Namaste.